FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz, and today is February 3rd, 2020. What a month was January. One for the record books. We had pandemics. We had the stock market making new highs, precious metals taking off, Bitcoin taking off. It really is the everything bubble, but one bubble that never ends. And you know what I'm talking about is the government waste bubble. And as if the government wasting money wasn't bad enough, they're always seeking to hide, to cover it up, to keep you from finding out how corrupt and inefficient and just plain stupid they are. And we'll be getting more into that next. What's your experience with the government? What have they done for you lately? Why don't you send us an email, share your experience. KL@kerrylutz.com is the email address. So it's bad enough that they waste the money. Then they try to cover it up and they try to hide it. And somebody who has been on their backs at all levels of government is our good friend Adam Andrzejewski. And Adam heads up openthebooks.com, which you probably know is an organization that is dedicated to really putting sunlight, which is said to be the best disinfectant upon these corrupt and wasteful government practices. And Adam, recently you initiated a lawsuit against the state of California, the controller, Betty Yee, who rejected your sunshine request to look at the state checkbook. And in her response to your demand, she didn't argue the law or anything else other than the fact that she couldn't locate a single one of the 49 million bills that she paid last year. Quite shocking, isn't it?
Well, it is. And thanks for your interest in our work, Kerry. Great to be on the program. This California comptroller, Betty Yee, as you mentioned, she admits to paying 49 million individual bills last year, and yet would not turn over a single one of those transactions to our auditors when we filed our public records request. Look, we filed this request on all 50 states, and this is not our first rodeo. So back in 2012, we had to sue Illinois Republican comptroller Judy Bartopinka for the state checkbook. She said, quote, "The state doesn't have a magical checkbook." And we said, we reminded her that the state doesn't have magical taxpayers either. And we wanted the line-by-line revenues. We sued her, and 9 months later, we had opened up 7 years worth of line-by-line spending in the state of Illinois. In 2018, we had to sue the Republican state auditor, Cynthia Cloud, for the state checkbook, the line-by-line public expenditures. She refused to turn them over. When we issued her a 10-day demand letter, then she got religion. She said, oh, well, the fee to do it is $8,000. Well, we paid it. Then she drug her feet. We sued her anyway. A new auditor was elected, and within her first 30 days on the job, she produced 5 years of line-by-line spending and returned our $8,000. So, look, this needs to happen in the state of California. We've kicked this off with a lawsuit, and we've never lost a court fight on open records.
Yeah, and you shouldn't either, because the law in every state is explicit, much to the politician's chagrin, and that is that any citizen can request any record, and unless there's a reason for it to be sealed, of which it's outlined in the statute, they must give it to you. And yet, you got this joker in California, and with the state of the courts in California, who knows if the courts will even back you up on it.
Right. I mean, who knows? I heard that we pulled a good judge in Sacramento, the state capital. And it's a tremendous amount of money at stake. And I'll argue that it's the most important record in the state of California. Last year, the comptroller admits total bills amounted to $320 billion. And this is why it matters to everyone listening across the country on your to this interview because federal taxpayers pumped $1 out of every $3 into the state of California. We pumped over $106 billion into California, and I simply want to know where the money went.
Mm-hmm. So $320 billion went through her hands. I didn't even know the state budget was that big. I thought the state budget was like a couple $100 billion.
It's tremendous. So locally, California raised revenues are about $220 billion, and $106 billion come back through from on top of that from Washington D.C. And look, she's charged in the Constitution in California with payroll, bookkeeping, auditing, all financial and compliance audits and attestations. When she cuts a bill, she's attesting to the fact there's no waste, fraud, corruption, or taxpayer abuse in that payment. So it's very troubling. She can't even turn over one of them and argues that her books are such a mess, they can't locate any of them. That's her argument. It's embarrassing. But embarrassment is not a legal rule not to comply with open records.
And how could she not be able to locate them? I'm sure every bill is transmitted electronically. If it's done by paper, it's scanned. They've got the files here. So this is just an out and out lie, isn't it?
It is. It's obfuscation. I think it's, look, there may be some work to do on their legacy systems to get them in a condition to produce the line by line spending. That happens in every state, in Illinois, in Wyoming, and all the other 49 out of 50 states. And California is the home to Silicon Valley, the home to big tech, and they're not letting technology drive their resources. Here's our message to Betty Yee. We are inviting her now through legal action to join the transparency revolution. Years ago, it swept the entire country. All the way back in 2006, the federal government did it. The state of California can certainly do it. And she can do it in a pretty rapid fashion.
Of course. But they don't want you to know. Isn't that really the truth, Adam?
Well, and I think we got a little hint of that, Carrie, this week. So we're the organization. Many people listening to the program today will remember last summer the poop map in San Francisco. When OpenTheBooks.com, our organization, we literally mapped using latitude and longitude coordinates of every single 311 non-emergency call report from citizens to San Francisco government reporting human waste, fecal matter in the public way on city streets. And it trended on national Twitter. It made the editorial page of the Wall Street Journal. It made broadcast primetime television and international news. We've updated those numbers, and the numbers continue to escalate. Breaking today at Forbes in my column, there was 31,000 reports of human waste on city streets last year. And California has a tax. Since 2012, they've been taxing millionaires for mental health. And the people pooping on the streets are the 8,000 homeless people in San Francisco. And we simply want to be able to follow the money. Did San Francisco get their fair share of that tax, for instance?
Yeah, good question. And, look, the homeless problem, it's defined by the liberals as a housing problem, that if only housing were cheaper, if we had more affordable housing available, nobody would be living on the streets. But what they're not taking into account is these people are drug addicts, alcoholics, mentally ill, and many other things. That's the vast majority of the homeless. There are some who are sane who just choose to live on the street, but that is the exception. And then there are people who really do have life emergencies and wind up on the street for a variety of reasons, not due to mental health. But the vast majority is mental health issues, drug addiction, alcoholism. And to call it anything else.
It is it's a sad human health care crisis. I agree with you. But a couple of days ago, we were also treated, Carrie, to another reason why this is going on. And it's public corruption, malfeasance. The FBI, the self-described Mr. Clean, this Mohammed Nuro, he's the director of public works in San Francisco. He, on his Twitter handle, it's at Mr. Clean SF, San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's the official in charge of keeping the feces and the hypodermic needles out of the public way. His budget every year is $500 million. And according to our data at openthebooks.com, last year he earned $250,000 of annual salary. But the Fed arrested him. The FBI arrested him a couple of days ago on public corruption charges. And and the indictment references a porta potty scandal, a breach of honest services in the procurement of mobile potties and tiny container type portable housing for the homeless. I mean, in a human health care crisis, this guy's trying to line, according to the Feds, the allegation, his own pocket and that of his buddies.
What a shock. What a shock. And, the fact is, they've said, now, I don't know if it's true, but they spend somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000 a year per each homeless person in terms of mental health, in terms of jails, police calls, emergency room visits, costing $45,000. Certainly, they could confine them in a mental health facility where they could get care and proper treatment, proper nutrition, have a clean place to stay. They might not be the Hilton or the Hyatt, and something could be done. But if you don't know how much you're spending on it, then they can just get away with this stuff, Adam.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up these very, very questionable and odd, oftentimes, public expenditures on the behalf of being compassionate to homeless people in San Francisco. Let's go through some of these things. So like Neuro, his questionable tactics, he had fancy portable toilets designed in the architectural style of a painted lady residence. San Francisco has these beautiful homes, right? They're called painted lady in the architectural style. This guy actually had porta potties designed like these painted lady houses. And each of these porta potties cost $200,000 to operate.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
5 employees were staffed on a poop patrol with pay, perks, and pension benefits costing taxpayers $184,000 apiece.
Oh, my God.
And that's the legal corruption that was going on. The feds allege illegal corruption on top of that.
Oh, my God. This reminds me, one day I used to live in New York, and I'm on the Metro North, and I look at been riding it for years, but I never really looked in the inside of the train. And on the wall of the train, it's Formica or whatever, it's some kind of synthetic material. And I look and I see there is embossed all over the place, like thousands of times over, the state seal of New York state seal, and some other emblem of New York, the flag. And there's a little circle. And I'm wondering how many thousands or dollars did this cost? And then I look in the subways, a certain vintage, it's all over the subways. They just had this thing custom done for absolutely no purpose whatsoever, complete waste. It had to have cost a fortune to do it. And for what purpose?
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next.
Today's show is brought to you by U.S. Gold Corp. U.S. Gold Corp is a U.S.-focused gold exploration and development company advancing high-potential projects in Wyoming and Nevada. U.S. Gold Corp has consolidated a district on Nevada's productive Cortex Trend and is advancing the Copper King project towards production in Wyoming, led by a team of prolific company builders and renowned explorers, including Dave Mathewson, who is directly responsible for several major Nevada gold discoveries. U.S. Gold Corp is well-capitalized and has an extremely tight share structure with less than 20 million shares outstanding and trades on the NASDAQ, a major exchange, under the ticker symbol USAU. To learn more, go to usgoldcorp.gold. That's usgoldcorp.gold.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Well, it was an insider contract. Somebody was paid very, very well to do that work. Look, it's we're going to break soon a scandal in New York in the governor's mansion. We took the New York State checkbook vendor list and the payments, and we mashed it up against Governor Cuomo's campaign donor disclosures.
Don't tell me there was an overlap.
Findings.
There couldn't have been an overlap. No, I'm shocked.
No. Well, we did this in Oregon. We did this last year in Oregon with Governor Kate Brown. We took the state checkbook, we mashed it up with her campaign donor disclosures, and we found that Kate Brown, the liberal luminary, the national, she wants to be a national figure backed by progressives who on a national basis decry money in politics.
Yeah.
This lady, Kate Brown, governor of Oregon, she solicited 557 state vendors for $2.6 million in campaign cash, and those vendors received over $4 billion state payments.
Yeah, why am I not surprised at all? Pay for play. It's rampant. It's all over. We know that when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, pay for play was rampant there. And in so many other government agencies, both at the state level, the local level. Look, when a mayor wants to run for re-election, he solicits invariably, he will be soliciting all of the contractors, all of the people who've gotten government contracts and who've gotten zoning amendments and variances. All those people are now fair game for campaign contributions.
Well, and it's why public corruption polls so high in every single public opinion poll. It's an 80 to 95% issue across the board, regardless of people's political ideologies. Everyone wants the mess cleaned up, but it is entrenched and it's systemic. And I'll make the argument that we can't complain about Washington, D.C. until we have good government where we live, where we know people, where we have the financial and relationship resources to get something done about it. And our local units of government all across America are a mess. And we, the people, need to dig in, review the spending, ask questions, demand answers, and hold those local officials that we elect accountable for tax and spend decisions. Agreed.
I mean, I live in Florida, and we're having a building boom. As usual, in Florida, it's boom and bust. And every time I go by a new project, I say to myself, I wonder who got paid for this one. And, that's just the way it is. The corruption at one point, a few years ago, Florida had the most public officials convicted and sent to jail of any state. It was over a 10-year period, over 1,500 government officials went to jail for corruption. And I haven't looked at
There's
the
only
statistics.
one silver lining with that, and that is that your law enforcement mechanism and your state's attorney mechanism and attorney general mechanism in the state of Florida isn't broken yet. So, I live in the state of Illinois, the Super Bowl of corruption, and nobody gets indicted until the feds come in, because all the law enforcement apparatus at the local level and state level, they're all playing ball with the politicians that are in on it.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. Well, there it's just one gigundo kleptocracy. And that's what California has turned into as well. It's just a big kleptocracy. And New York. New York's also is the Kuwait of public corruption, for sure. It's just there's no limits. And that's what one-party rule does to entities, to cities, states, counties. If you have one party running the show, it's going to be completely corrupt, and they're just going to fleece it, all the taxpayers.
Well, and that's why our lawsuit in California, to come back to our topic off the top of the program, Gary, is so important. If we, the people, don't have any access to how state government spends our taxpayer dollars, that is a very troubling precedent in the largest state economy, in the largest state in the good old United States of America. It threatens, I believe, the ongoing concern of the entire country if California won't show us how they spend taxpayer money. If that's held up in court, that's a bad precedent for our future.
I couldn't agree with you more, and it's really doing amazing work. How do you get supported in these endeavors here, Adam? How do we support you?
We're 100% individual contributions. So foundations, people of means, and then regular Americans. We have thousands of regular Americans that support our work. Just come to openthebooks.com and you could donate with a credit card or a PayPal account.
All right, openthebooks.com. There's a link to it in our site. In the show notes, please help these guys out. I'm making a contribution now myself, as I believe in the work that you're doing there. And you've really uncovered amazing things. You know what we're missing? We're missing a congressman giving out the Golden Fleece Award. Remember Proxmire?
Right.
I think it was every week or every month, he gave out the Golden Fleece Award. And to the most
a U.S. Senator from Iowa, Joni Ernst, she's the junior senator. Chuck Grassley is the senior senator.
Right.
Ernst has been doing the Squeal Awards once a month, and they've been really good. She's done some of the legislation that our oversight reports have called for. So she's kind of picking up that mantle.
Well, good for her. I wish I heard more about. I know I heard that. I definitely heard about it, but it just it's not permeating the public's consciousness like Proxmire did, because he did that for 20 years. And she's not as prominent as he was. He was the senior senator from Wisconsin, and he had a reputation of being this gadfly who would just get in their face. He was. I think he was the one that exposed like the $1,000 toilet seats and the $500 hammers and all that stuff in the Department of Defense's heyday.
Once you develop a reputation, the insiders bring you great stories.
Yes.
And we get some of our best stories at the state, local, and federal level from people who tip us. And that's so important.
Right. Hey, so if any of you out there are working for various levels of government and see corruption, how do they contact you, Adam?
I would just go to the contact us through our website at openthebooks.com. I get all those emails. They come right to my desk, and I can respond from there.
Okay. I saw it myself. I lived in an extremely wealthy town in just north of New York City. I mean, the town was broke. It had no cash. It had a AAA rating. It lost its AAA rating all because of corruption and stupidity and inefficiency. And the place was run like so dysfunctionally. And to my knowledge, it still is today. We got a reform group in there at one point, and they actually wound up, when they left, they had $2 million in the bank, whereas the town was down to like no cash. They were like writing hot checks, and the bank, of course, was never going to bounce a town check because they knew they were going to get paid. But that's what we were down to, and the payables were out of control. They fixed all that, and then the forces of both parties combined to get them out of office because they had cut off the gravy train. And kind of a shame, but that's what happens.
That's what happens. In my local junior college in 2014, what could possibly be wrong, right? Well, we uncovered a $100 million account that only the president of the school and the chairman of the board of trustees knew the detail. The regular trustees didn't know the detail, the media certainly, or the public. And we found all kinds of things, including they started a French restaurant with a world-class wine cellar, and they hired a French sommelier.
No. And this is a junior college? God.
Yeah, eventually a reform crew won election. They cut property taxes for the first time in 10 years. They cut student tuition for the first time in 12 years. The president, treasurer, and comptroller of the school were fired, and it was a new day. So it does take new people.
Yes, new blood. And hey, you're the key to exposing it. If you see something, say something to Adam here. Openthebooks.com, real easy to do. And hey, we need multiple organizations out there like yours, Adam, to really blow the lid off this corruption, because it's endemic, it's systemic, it's widespread. Virtually no state is exempt from it, which is the perfect argument why we need limited government and why they don't want to give it to us, because the more functions you charge a government with, the more opportunities to steal money there is, and they will not let one opportunity go untaken. Anyway, Adam, always a pleasure. Hey, questions for Adam or myself, issues that you've seen with corruption in your local government, we really want to hear from you. So email me, kl@kerrylutz.com, Twitter feed @KerryLutz, Facebook page is Financial Survival Network, and visit our home site, which is going to have a whole new look and feel to it shortly, financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Sign up for a newsletter. Adam, always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Kerry, thank you.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.